Hello, my name is Matthew Braddock. I'm here today to talk about desktop recording. You'll see here I have Screencast-O-Matic open right now. However, that's not what I'm going to actually be talking about. I do want to touch on it quickly because it is what I see most other educators use. Um, there are some, it's a nice basic program. It's very easy to set up. It's very easy to use. You have your desktop, your webcam, but that's about it. There's not a whole lot of customizability. You're limited to 15 minutes per recording, which is not always great. Sometimes you're pushing that 15 minutes and you have to rush to quit. Sometimes you want to record things that are longer than 15 minutes. Maybe you want to record your classroom so you can give it to students later, things like this. There's also the watermark in the bottom left, which frankly I think is kind of unprofessional, having that on there. So you can get rid of some of these things, you can improve some of it by paying $15 a year, but there's no reason to be spending money on stuff like this when there are other alternatives that are completely free and even better. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to be looking at Open Broadcaster software. It is free, it is open source, it is cross-platform, it is highly customizable. As you can tell by the website here, it is geared towards video games. People do stream video games online. However, it can be used for other purposes as well, which is what I'm going into today. It's also another reason why most people probably have not heard of it. Again, it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I already have it installed, so we'll go ahead and go look into it now. So we'll go ahead and open it up. The window itself is very basic, very easy to use. Okay, so you have down here, you have your scenes, which are the different layouts that would be recorded, shown on video. Sources are all the things that are inside the scene. You have your mixer, which will list your mic, your desktop audio, and any of the particular sources you have, so you can change the volume on different sources. And then your basic start streaming, start recording, and settings. So again, the layout here is very simple, easy to use. It's really intuitive. So we'll dive into settings real quick. There are general settings, just your language and your theme. There's dark. The default's got this white and gray. I prefer dark. That's what most video editing software looks like, so it's nice and consistent. The dark look is nice. Stream. Again, like I said, this software is geared towards people who stream video games. However, you can stream on YouTube. There is live streaming on YouTube, so if you have if you record videos often and you have an subscribers and an audience, you can do this. It's also good for if you have, say, snow days, or you're doing live tutoring or something like that. It's a great thing to look into. We won't dive into this, but again, YouTube does have live streaming, and there is help online to do that. Output here. The things to really look at are the recording path, where videos are being saved. I think by default it's the videos folder, which is where I've kept mine. The quality, by default, we'll look at what the resolution and everything looks like in a minute, but you can have normal quality to very high quality, which of course means larger file sizes. You can also record in different formats, from Flash video to MKV and other things in between. Audio settings in here, mostly if you have more than one recording device for audio. Say you have a microphone built into your computer, plus you have a webcam, or if you have an external microphone, anything like this, you can choose which audio devices you're using. My laptop, I just have the built-in microphone, I'm not using anything else. You can also enable push to mute or push to talk. These are great if you're in an environment with a lot of background noise. If you're doing this during your planning period, sometimes there's announcements overhead, so you might want to quickly mute your recording so you're not getting that audio in there. Video, again, here we have our base resolution, which should just be the size of your screen, whatever that is, and then your output, your scaled resolution, because you don't want to be recording in something that's super high quality. So mine's scaled down to 720, still more than high enough for you to view on the desktop or anything. Hotkeys, very important things to use while you're recording, and we'll talk about some of these in detail when we go through some. But right, I have recording set up. You can also change what sources are being shown, what scene you're on, your push to talk and push to mute here. Advanced, again, this is all stuff that's more detailed than what we need just for what we're doing. Alright, so we're going to look at setting up a basic scene. I will say it's not going to be super helpful for webcam, because if your webcam's in use by one program, as it is for me because I'm recording me, then you won't be able to see it in another program. So I won't be able to open up my webcam in this window currently. But we'll go ahead and still look at this. So setting up a basic screen, I'm going to try to mimic what Screencast-O-Matic can do, which is your desktop and your webcam. So I'm going to call this Screencast-O-Matic because we're going to basically duplicate it, what it can do. Alright, so again, it's just a blank slate to start with. I need to add some sources, plus to add, minus to remove. If I want to get my background, I'm going to capture my display. So I'll call this my monitor, whatever it is. So display 0, that's my background. Okay. You'll notice nothing comes up. That's because it's already in use in another scene. So we'll look here at basic recording. This is kind of what mine looks like, what you're watching right now. So the desktop is here. This is the entire background. Okay, this is one of our sources. The webcam is another source. Again, you can't see it because I already have it open in another window. So what I'll do, you have an eyeball here. I can get rid of it. So it basically hides it, keeps it in its location and everything. And I will show you how to open up that, because I have two webcams on my laptop. One of them is facing the wall, so it's a little uninteresting, but how we do that, it's a video capture device because it's capturing video. We'll call this back webcam. Okay, so device, I'm going to choose the one in the rear because the one in the front is, again, already being used. So not very exciting view, it's just the wall and the window that's behind me. But we have this window here. We can drag it down to the corner, make sure it's the size we want it to be, whatever that is. It's nice and easy. Whoop, moved the wrong thing. It's as easy as just clicking and dragging for moving stuff and resizing things. The other thing I have here are the standards, which is something we'll look at later, how we do that. So this here is basically what you can do on Screencast-O-Matic. All you have to do is, for the desktop, that was the display capture. The webcam was a video capture device, and we chose the webcam. And now we can do whatever we want. We can resize this. We can make it much larger. We can even change the size of our background if we wanted. Okay. So again, the very basic setup is very easy to accomplish. So let's look at some other things. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these so I can make new ones. Okay. One of the nice things about OBS is you can capture particular windows rather than capturing the entire background. So in case you don't want someone to see your taskbar or any other windows you have, you can do window specific. So in this scene, we're going to do that. I'm going to open up GeoGebra, which is a program I use for math quite often. Takes a moment to load. But we're going to go ahead and select it as one of my sources, and we're going to have that be the only thing shown. We're not going to see the entire background. So here's GeoGebra. A bunch of stuff we can do in here. So let's go ahead and add a source. It's going to be a window capture. It wants to capture a particular window. I'm going to rename it what the window is. In order to select it, you need to have the window active, or not active, but open. It needs to not be minimized. Alright, so different windows. We have GeoGebra here. Do we want it to capture the mouse while it's on there? Yeah, because if we're trying to demonstrate how to do something, it's nice to have it open. Okay. And so now it captures just the window. It's not capturing my entire desktop. I can scale this all I want. Making it bigger than it actually is might hurt our resolution, but we can fill it out for now. If I close this, notice it's still here. So GeoGebra does run on Java, so it's a little finicky when you start messing around with it too much, like I just did, minimizing it while it's being recorded. So, but basically, I can make it full screen. You can still see it here. If I open other things on top of it, say for instance this calculator, I have a calculator open. If I was recording my desktop, it would be covering GeoGebra, but since I'm capturing just the window, it doesn't matter if I open up other stuff over it. So this is a great thing if you need to check notes while you're recording something. If they won't get in the way of the actual recording. This is very useful. So another thing we can look at is getting inside of a window. We don't always want to have the toolbars shown. In GeoGebra, it's kind of nice because we have all these things here. We'll go ahead and minimize this. I'm going to get rid of GeoGebra. And I want to look at getting inside of a window. So I'm going to look at External here, which is an application I use for writing because I have a pen. Well, actually, here. I have an actual stylus, so I can write on here. We can actually write on the screen and everything. But I have a bunch of toolbars up here that I don't always want seen. So I want to make this full screen because that's usually how I have it. And usually it looks like this when I'm recording it for kids. So over here, again, we'll capture it as a window. External. So obviously it's going to capture that window, capture the cursor. Maybe not this time, it's going to write stuff so we don't need to see the cursor. And so again, by default, that's interesting, it's capturing more than it should. Okay. That's okay, we'll mess with this. We need to crop some stuff out. So we go here and we want to go to filters. And one of the filters we can have is cropping. We don't need to change the name, it's pretty obvious what it's doing. So I can crop from the top, which as you'll see in the window is starting to take away from the top of it. My resolution has a lot of pixels, and this goes pixel by pixel. So typing it in just like this is going to be very slow, as you can see. But it works. We also have, for some reason, a bunch of blank space. We can get rid of that too. I'm going to type in some numbers to see if it's going to give us the right one. We get a little closer each time, and then we can start narrowing it down, pixel by pixel. Until we have just the paper shown. Same thing from the bottom. That's too far. So you just play with the numbers a little bit until you get where you want it to be. That way we don't capture any unnecessary things, we get just what we want. So now our capture is just external. You see it's not, it doesn't fit perfectly, but that's why we can do other things too. So there we go. Now we captured just inside of a window. It still works. Make this not widescreen for a moment. Yes, that's going to change that. But so as I write, as I draw on here, it shows up. Another thing that you may have caught for a second, I have scrolling text. So let's talk about that for a second. Text. All right, so we can type in something basic. This is a presentation. Basic stuff. Other neat thing is you can have it read it from a file, which is what I'm doing, and I'll show that in a moment. So just some basic, this is a presentation. Basic text, nothing fancy happening here. Let's say I want this to scroll, though. We'll mess with its size and everything, too. So again, we want to go to Filters. One of the filters here is Scroll. And so we get to mess with the speed, how fast this is going to scroll. Again, if it goes too fast, then you can't really read it. We can also limit the width and the height. The width is good if you have something that is far longer than what the screen is, because then we'll do that. We'll show that as an example, actually. So let's get rid of the scrolling for now. And let's have it, so I have a file, read from file. So when you find a file, so just basic text files. I have one that has ISTE standards in it. So as you can see, it is very long. It's 4 different standards, so it's complete sentences. This thing is, I can't fit the whole thing on here. I can't. It's just not possible. So what we can do is we can place this up against the wall, the left side, go to our filters, and turn on scroll. So again, we'll get some speed going here. All right, so now it'll get through the whole thing. Maybe a little faster for this. I can limit the width. So that's really small. I probably want to get the whole screen. I forget how big my resolution is offhand. Let's just say 2160, is that right? There it is. Okay. So here it pushes to the edge of the screen. The height, not really what we want to look at. If we can make this font larger, we can just drag it like this. But again, that's going to start taking it off the screen again, so I have to make sure our width is still the same. That's not going to work. So we mess with the width until it fits. Yeah. So it's a little playing around, a little finicky, but there we go. So now we have our text scrolling down here. The last thing I want to look at particularly is switching scenes, which is something that's super helpful here. So let's get rid of these. I would like to remove my text. Okay. So let's close this. We still have GeoGebra open, so let's go ahead and get that as a window again. And we'll just have it take up most of the screen. A little black bar around it, that's fine. Alright, so let's say I'm recording a video for my students and I'm showing them some stuff in GeoGebra. And at some point I need to do some calculations, and I want my calculator up. Well, again, since we're just capturing the window, it's like this. If we did a desktop, it would capture both of them, but then the calculator would be covering up some of GeoGebra, which I don't want to have happen. So let's make a second scene. And in this window, we'll have GeoGebra. So we'll just add it, since it's already existing. We'll just add it again. We're going to make it a little smaller here. And we're going to add another window source, which will be the calculator. Alright. This here, again, it's not quite capturing it the way we want, so we need to make sure we're selecting the right source when we do our filter here. And we want to crop this, not color correction. Okay, so we need to crop from the right. almost the whole part. There we go. And from the bottom. And there we go. So here's our calculator now. And we'll have this come up here on this side of the screen. Some size. And we have GeoGebra over here. So notice like size is going to, we have to compete with some screen space, which is fine. You can also just still have this be pretty full screen. We can have it cover certain parts. Like if I'm working mostly on the right side of the I have an algebra tab over here and then the graphics. So if I'm working mostly with graphics, then I'll want this to be on this side. And I can still have GeoGebra take up most of the screen over here. Little things. Doesn't have to be perfect. Some things will look a lot better, but basically, it'll adjust the screen for us here like this. So to switch between the two, what we're going to do is to set up a hotkey to switch scenes. So if I want to switch to the regular scene, we'll make that, I don't know, F5. And if I want to switch to the other scene, I'll make that F6. Okay. Alright, so if I'm here, and I can switch with F5, F6, just pressing the keys. And so if I was over here, I'm just going to make this look kind of bad for a second, but let's say I'm doing some stuff in GeoGebra, you can kind of see the screen down there, and I pull up the calculator, I can just press F6 and suddenly my calculator is on screen. Or I can even have this on screen at all times and then just switch back and forth when I need it. So scene switching comes in handy a lot, especially when you're recording. You can just switch on the fly. Right. This will conclude the entire presentation for this. Again, open broadcaster software available. It's obsproject.com. There's community chat if you need to talk to anybody for some help. It has live chat. It's IRC. You also have forums. It's the great thing about being open source and completely free is that there's always people who are developing, and the developers are there to help you, so you get answers quickly on what you need. So I hope you have fun. You have an alternative to Screencast-O-Matic that has a little bit more customization, well, a lot more really, and doesn't have any annoying watermarks. Okay.